Welcome to History Channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Soldiers of the 9th Pennsylvania Cavalry, Company B, stand proudly atop Lookout Point, Tennessee, in August 1864. During the final year of the American Civil War, their weary faces capture both pride and exhaustion after months of relentless conflict. A quiet moment of unity before the next march into uncertainty. Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein is seen touching the black stone of the Kaaba during an Islamic pilgrimage in the 1980s. Though his Ba'ath Party was secular, Saddam often portrayed himself as a devout Muslim to strengthen his image. The moment blends political calculation with the symbolism of faith. Two American B-17 waistgunners share a rare, light-hearted moment during World War II, taking what might be one of history's earliest selfies. Around 1944, amid constant danger and deafening skies, the photo reflects brief humanity and camaraderie inside the belly of a bomber built for destruction. One of the few surviving images of Confederate guerrilla leader William Quantrill captures the ruthless face behind the infamous Lawrence Massacre of 1863, where his men killed more than 150 civilians. A young Jesse James rode among his troops, shaping a legacy of rebellion born in blood. Dr. John Bodkin Adams calmly reads a newspaper covering his 1957 acquittal for murder in London. Suspicion surrounded him after over 100 patients died under his care, many leaving him money in their wills. The image captures chilling composure amid one of Britain's most unsettling medical scandals. Supermodels Iman and Jerry Hall pose gracefully under Norman Parkinson's lens for Vogue France. Spring 1982. Their elegance defines an era of glamour that merged art, fashion, and global culture. The photo reflects both timeless beauty and the industry's growing celebration of diversity in the early 80s. Photographer Cecil Beaton's Fashion is Indestructible, taken in 1941, contrasts a model's elegance against the ruins of wartime Britain. It symbolizes endurance and grace amid destruction, a message that beauty, creativity, and resilience can survive even under the shadows of bombed cities and a world at war. A mother and her two children sit closely around a radio in Kharkiv, Poland. 1932. Their quiet attention reflects the growing power of radio to connect isolated families with the wider world. In the stillness, one can feel both comfort and curiosity in the voice carried through static. Yugoslav partisans hold a tense meeting in a hidden cave between 1943 and 1944, surrounded by darkness and danger. These resistance leaders planned their fight against Axis occupation. The photograph reveals courage forged underground, where strategy, secrecy, and survival determined the fate of an entire nation. Otto von Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor, stands in full military dress during the 1880s, a living emblem of German unification. Through shrewd diplomacy and war, he forged the German Empire in 1871. His gaze reflects authority, ambition, and the confidence of a man who reshaped Europe's political landscape. A young man dubbed the gas station bomber is photographed at an Oregon service station around 1947. The image captures the strange intersection of post-war anxiety and domestic rebellion, a reminder of how returning veterans and restless youth navigated a rapidly changing America in the atomic age. The Great White Fleet glides into San Francisco Harbor in 1908, its gleaming hulls symbolizing America's growing naval power. Ordered by President Theodore Roosevelt, the fleet's global voyage demonstrated industrial might and diplomatic reach. It marked a turning point when the United States stepped confidently onto the world stage. The Lockheed L-1049 super constellation, known as the Super Connie, soars through South American skies in the early 1960s under Avianca Airlines. Its triple-tail design and elegant curves made it one of the most beautiful aircraft ever built, a symbol of luxury air travel before the jet age arrived. In April 1944, the CEO of America's largest mail-order retailer is forcibly removed from his office by the National Guard after defying wartime labor negotiations. The U.S. War Department seizes control of the company, underscoring how labor disputes and federal authority collided on the home front during World War II. At the 1927 Solvay Conference in Brussels, the greatest scientific minds of the century gather: Einstein, Curie, Planck, Bohr, and others. Captured together in one frame, they represent the dawn of quantum mechanics, a moment when human understanding of the universe shifted forever in a single photograph. Child laborers sell fruit on the streets of Indianapolis around 1908, their small hands holding baskets instead of books. Photographs like these helped expose the harsh realities of child labor, fueling reform movements that would one day protect children from the relentless grind of industrial poverty. A Japanese language instructor asks, "Why is Japan at war now?" During a wartime lesson for Korean students in 1942, the classroom scene reflects the intense propaganda and cultural assimilation under Japanese occupation, a haunting reminder of how education was weaponized to control minds and shape loyalty. A Polish child sits alone among the rubble of Warsaw after a German air raid in September 1939. The child's expression captures the beginning of a national tragedy, innocence surrounded by ruin. It remains one of the most heartbreaking images of the war's earliest civilian suffering. In Mountjoy Prison, IRA volunteers Thomas Whelan and Patrick Moran shake hands for the last time before their execution on March 1, 1921. The image embodies quiet defiance and brotherhood under British rule, a solemn farewell that would strengthen the memory of Irish resistance for generations. Hanafi Mat Hassan, a convicted Malaysian murderer, is photographed smiling coldly at the brother of his victim, Nur Suzeli Mukhtar. Around 2000, the disturbing calm on his face contrasts sharply with the horror of his crime, encapsulating a chilling study of guilt, arrogance, and human cruelty. Korean-German soldier Yang Kyun-jong is captured by American troops in 1944 after serving in 3 different armies: Japanese, Soviet, and German. His story reflects the chaos of World War II, where one man could be forced to fight under multiple flags across continents without ever choosing a side. Cameroon's Paul Biya takes his oath of office as president in 1982 after 7 years as prime minister. Decades later, he still holds power at age 92, making him one of the world's longest ruling non-royal leaders, a living symbol of political endurance and African authoritarian continuity. Female artillery operators of the Tamil Tigers load a 120mm howitzer in northern Sri Lanka at the turn of the millennium. Their presence challenges traditional gender roles in warfare, showing how the brutal Sri Lankan civil conflict drew both men and women into its relentless cycle of violence. On June 30, 1960, Congolese Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba and Belgian King Baudouin stand together in Leopoldville as Congo declares independence. Their opposing speeches, one nostalgic, one defiant, reveal the deep wounds of colonial rule. The moment marks both liberation and the beginning of a turbulent new chapter. Disney employees paint the whimsical Dopey Drive sign at Walt Disney Studios around 1940, amid global conflict. The studio maintained its spirit of imagination and humor. The image reflects an era when creativity and optimism continued to thrive behind studio walls, even as the world outside grew darker. In 1917, Prince Alexander of Serbia and Ante Trumbic meet in Greece to discuss uniting the South Slavs into a single nation. Their negotiation paved the way for the formation of Yugoslavia, a fragile dream of unity born from war, nationalism, and the hope of shared identity. A sniper unit from the LTT moves through the ruins of Kilinoki during Operation Unceasing Waves in late September 1998. Precision and discipline illustrate the deadly efficiency of Tamil Tiger tactics, a grim reminder of how guerrilla warfare defined Sri Lanka's long and devastating conflict. In 1982, Vincent Chin, a Chinese-American man, was murdered by two laid-off auto workers who blamed Japan for their unemployment. When the killers received only fines and probation, outrage spread nationwide. His death became a turning point, igniting the Asian American civil rights movement and exposing racial bias in the U.S. justice system. The second team of Schwarz-Weiß Essen poses proudly in 1922, representing a local German club from North Rhine-Westphalia. A handwritten note on the back declares them champions. Their determined faces and simple uniforms reflect the early spirit of European football, long before it became the global spectacle it is today. Robert Eugene Brashers stands with his family in Alabama sometime in the 1990s, a seemingly ordinary man captured in a quiet moment. Years later, DNA evidence would reveal him as a serial killer responsible for multiple murders, including the infamous Austin Yogurt Shop massacre, exposing the darkness behind this family photo. American doctors work urgently to save Hideki Tojo after his failed suicide attempt in 1945. The former Japanese Prime Minister, once one of the most powerful men in Asia, now lies powerless on a stretcher. This haunting moment marked the collapse of Japan's wartime leadership and the dawn of Allied justice. 7-year-old Terence Dow sits among older students in a Year 11 math class in Adelaide. 1983, already recognized as a prodigy, he calmly solves problems most adults couldn't attempt. Dow would later become one of the world's greatest mathematicians, a symbol of brilliance nurtured by discipline and early passion. Burundian leader Michel Macombro inspects his troops in 1970, shielded by an umbrella under the hot African sun. Only 25 years old, his reign would soon turn brutal. In 1972, he launched a genocidal campaign against the Hutu population, leaving more than 100,000 dead and a nation deeply scarred. Dominican dictator Rafael Trujillo looks on as his brother Hector is sworn in as president in 1952, though he stepped down under foreign pressure. Trujillo retained absolute control as Generalissimo. The photo captures the illusion of democracy masking one of Latin America's most repressive and enduring family dictatorships. The Lincoln Memorial rises slowly from scaffolding in 1921 as workers carve marble into American history. Still incomplete, it already commands reverence, standing as a national symbol of unity and remembrance. Within a year, it would open to the public, honoring the legacy of President Abraham Lincoln and his enduring ideals. Larry Hillblom, co-founder of DHL and one of the world's richest men, vanished mysteriously in 1995 while flying his private plane near Micronesia. His disappearance sparked years of legal battles over his vast fortune, leaving behind questions of greed, secrecy, and the high price of global ambition. In 1958, former U.S. President Harry Truman meets artist Pablo Picasso in Vallauris, France. The encounter between political power and creative genius symbolizes two very different worlds. Truman, a man of duty, and Picasso, a man of imagination, exchange polite words that bridge diplomacy with the universality of art. A young German woman stands beaten and dazed along a roadside in Czechoslovakia. Summer 1945. Known as the Lost German Girl, she represents the countless refugees displaced in the chaotic aftermath of World War II. Her haunted face mirrors the moral and human cost paid by all sides of the war. Marilyn Monroe smiles warmly as she visits injured soldiers in Japan. On February 5, 1954, her presence lifts spirits in military hospitals across Tokyo, bringing a touch of Hollywood glamour to those scarred by war. The photograph captures a brief, human connection between fame and the quiet suffering of soldiers. Two North Vietnamese militia members walk hand in hand through the jungle in 1971, their rifles slung casually at their sides. The image conveys rare tenderness amid conflict, a reminder that even in war, friendship and solidarity endure. It humanizes the faces behind the endless headlines of the Vietnam War. A car dealer proudly stands beside gleaming new Ford models in Las Machas, Sinaloa. During the 1970s, the scene radiates optimism and progress, reflecting Mexico's growing middle class and American industrial influence. Rows of chrome and color tell a story of aspiration in a decade of global automotive expansion. Sagan Penn, age 23, turns himself in after killing a police officer during a traffic stop in 1985. His trial exposed racial tension and police misconduct in San Diego when the jury acquitted him. Many saw it as justice for a man who fought back against abuse and discrimination. The massive head of the Statue of Liberty sits on display in Paris in 1883. Awaiting shipment to New York, spectators gathered to marvel at the colossal piece of the monument that would soon become America's symbol of freedom, a gift from France to celebrate liberty and friendship between nations. An American soldier wanders past wounded comrades on Omaha Beach during D-Day. June 6, 1944. His vacant stare reflects exhaustion, shock, and disbelief amid the chaos of battle. The scene captures the staggering cost of the Allied invasion and the quiet courage of those who pushed through hell for victory. Ted Bundy stands in court as Judge Edward Cowart sentences him to death on July 31, 1979. Dressed neatly, Bundy smirks faintly, showing the arrogance that defined his trials. The moment marks the end of one of America's most chilling serial murder cases, where charm and cruelty walked hand in hand. Thomas Whaley poses in the 1880s. The man who built San Diego's historic Whaley House, once a family home and later rumored to be haunted, it became a landmark of California history. Whaley's legacy endures in the creaking floors and whispered tales that surround one of America's most famous haunted houses. Filipino soldiers train with a machine gun in 1941 under the tropical sun, captured by Carl Meddens for Time magazine. Their preparation came just months before Japan invaded the Philippines. The image reflects the courage of a nation bracing for war and the uncertain future of its young defenders. Smolka Square in Elway, Poland, photographed in 1925, captures the elegance of pre-war Europe. Children play, citizens stroll, and trams glide by, an image of peace that would soon vanish. Within 2 decades, this same city would endure occupation, destruction, and tragedy, forever altering the rhythm of life once seen here. Journalist Radosław Sikorski stands in the rugged Afghan mountains between 1986 and 1989. Documenting the Soviet-Afghan War, his camera and courage brought the world raw images of a brutal conflict. Years later, he would trade his press pass for politics, becoming a prominent figure in Poland's modern government. In March 1961, West Berlin's Mayor Willy Brandt meets U.S. President John F. Kennedy at the White House to discuss the Cold War crisis dividing their city. The photograph symbolizes unity and determination, as both leaders work to defend democracy and freedom in a world overshadowed by nuclear tension.